research and survey, and he noted that that project was funded by the European Union. Now, since quite a few of the men who are involved in the sex tourism business come from Western Europe, the study that was commissioned by the CARICOM Secretariat, I guess, or the CARICOM countries, was it done with a view to finding out what's happening, exactly what's happening in their territory, with a view to taking action, or was it done just for information's sake? Because we know sometimes these international donor agencies, they like to fund these projects just for funding themselves. What in essence, what I'm saying is, what has happened since the report has been presented? Has your report been acted upon? Do you feel that the work that you have done is now beginning to show the fruits of your labor, and people are beginning to benefit from the research that you have done?
Yeah, that's a very good question. In terms of the report, we submitted the report to the CARIFORUM, and what has happened was that some of the recommendations that were made was sent to the Ministers of National Security, and some sort of change and policies they obviously would take place. But they are definitely acting on the recommendations that we have made. So within the coming future, as I said, in the Caribbean, everything is based on funding in terms of aid. So hopefully, when they get some additional aid, things will go in process. But in regard to what Ms. Headley had said, there's something has to be done. And it's, for example, I think one of my reports I recommended that they need to have what is called an OPP, which is called an Ocean Patrol Vessel, between Venezuela and Trinidad, because so that it can be properly monitored. Okay. What we also found out that with relation to when they're speaking to some of the Venezuelan smugglers, boat captains, they keep very, very good records. They give very detailed record, because it's a criminal business. So if you have 29 persons in your boat and you only give account for 26, you could lose your life. So they sort of keep very, very, very good record. So what we did, we were able to provide a lot of data in the report to show how many persons are estimated to be trafficked. Because what we have done, we have data from about 28 vessels traveled for about 4 years. So we estimated that there were about 4,000 persons who were trafficked from Venezuela to Trinidad. But Trinidad is also a destination center, but it's also a transshipment center. So in Venezuela, they remain in Trinidad for a while, and from Trinidad they are moved to other parts of their region. They'll either go to places like Aruba, they'll go to Curacao, they will go to all parts of the world, Mexico, so North America, Chile. So what is happening, and we believe that, in fact, we conducted a survey. We gave these human traffickers 19 questions to answer. And with regard to, we asked them, where do you get most of your supplies from? Okay. And in terms of, so most of them got the women by seducing women in the village and communities. Okay, so it is very, because of the economic situation, you tell people that about there is a job here, okay? Then they take the activities, they take the idea of getting a job, follow you, and when they are removed from the communities, then you have the opportunity to traffic or smuggle them. We asked some of their traffickers. We asked some of their traffickers. We said, have you ever received assistance from law enforcement in the facilitation of your business? Okay, so 70% of them said yes. Okay, because cops. I mean, they are good cops, okay? But they're just a small percentage of the police are what is called corrupted. But this is very, very important. So we ask them, question 9. Okay, if yes to the above answer, please state the main type of assistance you receive from the law enforcement. And the main type of assistance they say that they receive from law enforcement is intelligence on evading other law enforcement officers. So the bad cop will give them intelligence on how to evade other bad cops. Okay? Then they get assistance from the transportation of victims. Okay? And then they also get assistance from apprehension and release of victims. So because of so that is, so we see that law enforcement is very, very involved in the facilitation of human trafficking. Not all of them, but a very small minority. And they singled out 2 areas of law enforcement that are most complicit. That is the police and the customs immigration. So these are the 2 areas that are flagged out. And we also see that from our research, most of the human traffickers work in conjunction with other local and international partners. It's just not like sole proprietor. Most of them they work together, but they also work in relation to other international organizations.
Wow.
Okay. Dr. Pierre, you have another comment or question, Brother Delbert?
No, go ahead. I'll come around.
Right?
Yeah.
Dr. Pierre, a while ago, Ms. Headley spoke about her aversion to taking public transportation, and the reason for that being that people who do the kind of work that she does can be targeted. Have you found there to have been any repercussions as a consequence of the kind of work that you do? And do you have any concerns for your own personal safety, as you travel from one place to another?
Well, I mean, I tell people, I've never had any experience, okay, of this. But I think I've been to every Caribbean country, 28 of them. Okay, so we have looked and spoken to many persons, including a lot of human traffickers. But my main concern, where I see issues of concerns, is when we interview, or when we interview suspected traffickers. I think that is where the main concern, because I remember, in fact, over the last year, about 3 of the persons who I've interviewed have like maybe 2 or 3 hours stay. 3 of them have been shot dead. Okay? Because sometimes maybe it's like a premonition, like they because what we try to do when we do our surveys, we market our surveys. So everyone in the country knows of the survey, in the newspaper and the television. And what happened is that one of a trafficker had called us through one of the local media, called us, arranged to have a meeting with us. We met him. We spoke about 2 hours. Told us about his whole system, how he operates, and it was not. He didn't want to get involved in that, but as I said, it's a family business, some friends. And very short, maybe less than 2 months after, he was shot dead. And then so we find that most cases the traffickers are the one, or the suspected traffickers or alleged traffickers are the one who meet their demands as a result of talking to us. I'm, for myself, I'm not really concerned. It's my work, and I'm not interested in, it's not my job to tell the police, okay? The police has to do their job. Our job as researchers, ethically, to sort of interview the traffickers. I'm not concerned with what they do. I'm a scientist in terms of I research them and find out what is the reason why they do what they do. Okay, yes, it's wrong, but in most cases, they do not see that what they do is wrong. And that's the biggest challenge I find, that a guy with that kind of mentality is thinking that what he's doing is not wrong.
You said that your research found that human trafficking is a family business. Can you explain what you really meant by that when you say a family business?
Yes, okay. From, as I said, we interviewed or many of the traffickers in the region, and when speaking to them, we asked them, they filled out a survey, okay? And the interesting thing in fact that none of them wanted to do the survey online, okay? So we had to be very creative in terms of printing the questionnaire, putting the questionnaires in secret location, in some cases in hotel lobbies, in some cases in the market, in some places, so in order for them to fill out their survey. And what we found out is that most of them believe that most of them, they learn it from small. They learn it, either the father's involved, the brother, it's a close friend, it's a close family business. Generally, the father, the son, their children. Also, what we see in most of the cases, you have a woman is always involved, okay, in somehow in the organization. So women are very, very involved in it. And most of them know each other. They form a unit, a close pack, and they do the business together. And as I said, human trafficking is very profitable. It's with billions of dollars. And one of the kind of good thing about human trafficking, okay, it's compared to the drugs of the 80s. But the good thing with human trafficking, or the bad thing I must say, is that you almost never get caught. Okay, it's almost like a perfect crime, because in Trinidad and Tobago, nobody has been convicted for human trafficking. And I think in Jamaica, very few persons are. I mean, Jamaica is the only country who are mainly proactively trying to prosecute human traffickers. But it's almost a sort of a crime that you seldom get caught, because the laws in the countries are so weak that it's very easy to
Okay.
Listen, this is fascinating. Let me ask this question. So what has your research shown in terms? I wanted to say something earlier that you had mentioned, the type of women that were sort of more of a demand, and it seemed that even in the sex trafficking business or in the human trafficking business, that racism still exists. That was a little bit eye-opening to me. The women who are trafficked, on average, how long do they find themselves in that kidnap state? Because in essence, most of them it's like a kidnapping. They have no control over their lives. Is there a sort of time frame, an average, you see that somebody may spend 5, 7, 10 years in that and they're able to get out? And especially in the Caribbean, if they're able to get out, is there any help for them through the churches or other non-governmental organizations or international donor agencies? What happens to these women? Are they, I mean, they're psychologically, physically, and emotionally damaged? Are they able to go on to live successful lives? Are they able to raise families? What happens to them? As your research sort of documented that, or is that still new in the Caribbean, so that data is not yet available?
Okay. Well, from our research, we found that persons, there are a lot of psychological issues, because human trafficking is basically mental. Okay, you have what is called something called trauma bonding within the human trafficking industry. So a person may be trafficked, they may be drugged, they may be beaten. In fact, let me go from we go through their process. So there are many ways that let me give you 3 ways that you can be trafficked or end up being in these situations. One, on rare occasion, you can be kidnapped. Okay, I think so they kidnap you. They bring you in. But so when you are kidnapped now, you go through an initiation phase. So, for example, you may be taken. I think I sometime last year I did a report about an article about a guy in Venezuela, a woman in Venezuela who drowned on a boat, and she was kidnapped from her village. So they can pick you up, and so she was kidnapped from her school. Okay, so the person who ended up who ended up identifying her was a teacher in her school. So the human traffickers, other persons are working for the human traffickers, so they identify her. She was kidnapped. So when you are kidnapped, they will bring you to a certain place, and what they will do, for example, it's a way of breaking you down. They will, first of all, there is a strict hierarchy. So the guy who kidnapped you does not know who is the person who transports you. The person who transports you does not know the person who will take you on the boat. So when you reach on that, and he does not know each other. So when you reach on the boat, the kidnapper will be 5, 6 of all, 10 of you wrong. What they do, they will be stripped naked most of the time. They strip them naked, and they will beat them. Okay, I mean you're a woman, you are being beaten, you're naked, you're very vulnerable. So you'll be beat 2, 3 days, you're hungry.
So you become submissive.
Yes, submissive. Then what the psychology is that so that person will beat you. Generally a man will beat you in a house, you're either handcuffed or tied, you have been beaten, your skin's bruised, you're hungry, you're beaten. Then this guy will leave, and then another person will come now, or maybe 1 or 2 persons will come and have sex with you. Either gang rape you, or have many of them will have sex with you over a period of a day, 2 days. You even get more vulnerable. Okay, so then you have to have sex with you. Then when that happens, then you are really scared. You first time, maybe you're a young person. You all you want. Then generally a woman will come to comfort you, and that woman is also part of the business. Don't worry, don't worry, things will be better. It's not your fault. If you just do what he said, just for a few months or a few weeks, everything will be fine. Just for a period of, and then you will go home. And sometimes these women, in terms of trauma bonding, they end up sort of complying or being submissive to the trafficker. So we have what is called Stockholm syndrome. Is very, very prominent in the human trafficking industry, and what is called trauma bonding. The trauma bonding occurs when a person develops a positive feeling towards their trafficker. Okay, so that's basically it. So there is a specific type of methodology that these traffickers. In fact, I interviewed a guy from Trinidad, and he told me, sir, in his local vernacular, he said, sir, I train these women as though we train a horse. Okay? I could call on the phone, I can send her to San Fernando to meet a guy in a house, spend 2 days with him. He will give her the money, and she will not spend 1 cent. And I will beat her if she comes 1 minute after 10 o'clock. That's the kind of control. And that's why you see the human trafficking, most of the cases, the police cannot solve a lot of the cases because some of these women will refuse to testify. Yeah. They will refuse to testify, but also the whole issue of prostitution / human trafficking is one of the most, is the occupation with the highest risk. 57% of of prostitution die before the age of 32. So it's a high risk. Sometimes when they don't need them again, they either dispose of them. If they don't need them again, they will call the police and tell them to deport them. So it is something that we have to take it very seriously, because if we don't do it, it can affect us, and not only ourselves, but our community.
Would you believe it that this conversation has been going for 2 hours already? Yeah, and there's so much that's been said, and there's so much more that can be said that we can go until maybe morning time. But my cutoff time is 10:30 my time, which is 9:30 to your time. Yeah, so we're coming down to the end. Before you go, can you this message is critical for young people. Can you give what would it take for young people to become involved in this exercise of understanding human trafficking and to be trained professionally? And what advice would you give to these people who want to develop in that profession?
Okay, well, that's a very good question. From my perspective, this is I've started taking this idea very seriously. Okay. I will advise that they concentrate on very few things. See it as a very as a study. Okay, because it's a very new industry. Okay, it's a very most people are not aware of it. Very few people have credentials in it. Okay, there are a couple of universities that offer courses, but well, I will advise some person to maybe have some sort of background in law, maybe some sort of background in research. Okay, but to take it very, very seriously. And what I will advise you to do, you have to be good at what you do. In fact, in terms of my case, we spend a lot of time in it. Okay, from 8-10 hours every day. I've read maybe almost every article, maybe all of the UN charters, all of the almost everything. 10 hours, and we specialize in that. But also, I will take. You have to also learn if you want to get involved in this business. 2 things I would encourage people to do. People need to read more, but read faster. Okay, and I was able to do what is called a speed reading course. Okay, so you're able to read because a lot of documentary.
A lot of data.
You also have to take what is called a memory course. Okay, and you just read. Okay, so we read almost everything about this subject, and within the first couple of just a few years, maybe 7-8 years now, we're in this business, but almost all of the many of the countries, have reached out to us because of the study. The UNODC, the UN Department of Drugs and Crime, most of the government of Australia, the Dutch Antilles, the French Antilles, because of the study that we have done. Because no one has ever conducted this study in the history of the Caribbean before. This is the first, this is the landmark study. Okay, and the information we were able to get, no one knew about it, because people have different perception of human trafficking. Okay, and you have to sort of realize that it's not a get rich quick. Okay, you have to put in the time. You have to make lots of sacrifices. I mean, now we're here in Canada. It's 9:30. Okay, so just concentrate. Get involved in a good speed reading course, a good memory course, and just study this subject, because it's a new subject, and very soon you will be good at it. And people are always willing to call me if we have many of the PhD students who also refer to us, many of the master students in the various universities and we're here to provide assistance.
Okay. Well, I expect that you definitely will be back on Gen FM. Ms. Headley, any final words from you as we come down to 10:30 Grenada time and St. Vincent time?
For me, I would just say I certainly have learned a lot. It's been very useful for this information to be shared and to be transmitted in such a way. And I'm really grateful, particularly because 6 years of going back and forth to Trinidad and being told it's not happening. I wanted to have had this platform to be able to share it so that people can see that there's someone else who concurs and says this is happening. Because like somebody commented in my Searchlight article, how can we say it's not happening in the Grenadines? Why not this nation? It's happening everywhere else but here. It's happening in the US, the UK, but not here. And I really want to encourage people to open their eyes and to actually accept the reality of what is going on. And by accepting the reality, taking those steps to be able to protect and safeguard those who are vulnerable, particularly the young girls, as we heard about those who have lighter skin and longer hair. We had this young girl, Andrea Barrett. She was kidnapped, it seems, and we just heard yesterday that she is now deceased. This is a major issue, and we know in every country it's existing, but we as individuals, we have to do whatever we can to protect the people around us and protect ourselves. And that requires us to read, as we've just been told, read and study. Maybe you don't want to be reading pages and pages and pages because that isn't for you, but having the knowledge, having a fair understanding of this issue and how it relates to where you are. And of course, I really want people to reach out to me to get a copy of my book, Can You Keep a Secret? My book is a very easy read. I read it from my personal experience of traveling thus far to 38 countries in my life, learning about this, talking to the prostitutes, talking to pimps. In fact, in the Philippines, I met a pimp in one of the islands in Davao, in fact, where the Prime Minister is based. And she was like 63 years of age. And so speaking to her and meeting her was very eye-opening. I believe she had left the sex industry and then she had gone on to become a pimp. But at the end of the day, we may not consider a 63-year-old could be a pimp, but that is indeed the reality. And so it's not about creating paranoia, but it's letting people understand, truthfully, you can't trust anyone. And as we heard today, the fact is these pimps and traffickers are everyday people. The perpetrators of sexual abuse, those who are purchasing, whether that's through sex tourism or otherwise, often are pillars of the community and married. And like I said, the book is there for people to buy. By buying it, they'll be educated, empowered, inspired. They can make a difference in the lives of those girls who are victims, boys who are victims in the Philippines, and these Indonesian men who are being labor trafficked. And then, of course, I must give my information for those who are tuned in. My Facebook is Changing Cases. My website, changingcases.org, changing, CASES.org. And then my number, +1 784 454 1693. That's +1 784 454 1693. Facebook, Changing Cases, changing, CASES. Website, changingcases.org, for a copy of my book, to invite me to speak. I speak by Zoom, in person with social distancing. I'm not charging for what I do because this is my life's ministry, but I am available so people can reach out to me to be better educated on this truly, truly important topic. Again, +1 784 454 1693, +1 784 454 1693, and the book is called Can You Keep a Secret? With 70 PC, $25 US.
Okay then. Well,
seeing as you've now connected with Dr. Pierre, and that you're on the ground in St. Vincent, and you already have an in with some of the media entities there, the radio stations and so, probably you can collaborate with him so that you can bring a program to the radio station so that those who are in denial as to what you have been saying, he can corroborate what you have been saying based on the research that he has already done on the ground, right? Yeah. So that information can be shared.
I could also say that, if anyone wants to contact me,
yeah, that's why I was going to turn to you now for your final words.
So my name is is Justine Pierre. You can, my email is C as in my name, C, Justine, Justine, Pierre, Pierre @gmail.com. So C Justine Pierre @gmail.com. And my phone number is 647-966-4783. I'm available on WhatsApp. So 647-966-4783. And we have a website called, our company is called, it's Don Pierre Barnett and Company Canada Limited, Don Pierre Barnett and Company Limited. And we also have a non-profit organization called Cancaro, CANCARO. So we do a lot of work in the industry, and as I said, we are, it's a body of knowledge that is gaining, picking up tremendous momentum, and we need all the foot soldiers. So Mrs. Headley, you're free to contact me. We have done, we can do something together. And Mr. Paul and Mr. Baptiste, it's been a pleasure. I think I know you from Mr. Peanut Close, is it? Is it Delbert? I think I know you from Delbert Close, Mr. Peanut Close. Mr. Peanut Close. Oh, yeah, I'm Sherman's brother. Oh, okay. That's my good buddy. We grew up in the same village, man. Yes. That's one of our best and brightest that we produced for Festival, So, he's a gentleman 100% of the time. He's a really good guy. I realized the name. Small world. Very good. Long time.
You see that Brother John just keep connecting people to each other. I'm good at doing that.
The first program we had in this with Miss Headley was eye-opening. This one is I don't know what the adjective to use, groundbreaking. It was just taking us into a whole new and giving me a sort of deeper understanding of that. I'm going to try, to do some more reading on it and try to better inform myself. But I'm going to close just by sort of just asking a question. What do you think, because I'm particularly interested, not that I don't care about what happens in the rest of the world, but I'm particularly interested in what happens in our neck of the woods. And the idea of having Black and brown girls still being victimized in 2021 personally deeply offends me, given our history with slavery and exploitation and all these things. So what do you think that we can do, an ordinary person like me, what can we do either as an individual or collectively to begin to stem this disease? Because I don't want to put it just as a disease. It's a disease, a social disease, but it's also a crime. What can we do to begin to fight back, basically, to fight back against traffickers?
Well, that's a very good question. What I would say is that, first of all, we have to educate our children and speak to our children. Okay, yeah. We need to speak to the children, and we need to have what is called perception. We need to market this whole idea of human trafficking, because it's so easy. You see, because the human traffickers, first of all, they get you by trying to be in love with you, or they through a romance. They get you there, and then they then they up it by making you become victim and doing things that you're not comfortable with. So if a guy, it starts with a guy, you're educating your girl children, and also if a guy wants you to do things that you're not comfortable with, okay, as a woman, you have to put your foot down and say no. And you have to tell people about it. You have to discuss it in the communities, in the churches, in the schools. You have on the radio, on the television, have posters. In the airport, in fact, we go to certain countries where human trafficking is in the airport. Sometimes you go to Grenada, I've never seen anything like that. I'm not saying that the government is a fault, but these are the things we have to get people more aware, and to sensitize them. Okay, and also we have to be proactive. We have to be proactive. We have to have the laws need to be strengthened. Okay, so for example, if I was, I'm not an advisor to government, but if I have to advise the government, I would say that here we should really put what is called a counter trafficking person unit. So it's just to inform people about it. Like today I was speaking to the head of the counter trafficking unit in St. Vincent. Okay, and they have a unit which is very active. And so we need to support and also we need what is called a database. So there's no centralized database of human trafficking. No. So if I'm a human trafficker in Grenada or in Trinidad, and I can go at will to go to Grenada, do my crap in Grenada, and nobody knows who I am.
Yes.
That should not be. So we should have the database, and that's why we need proper labor market intelligence, proper data.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
You know, I'm hoping that with initiatives like these, we can begin to see steps being taken, and based on the research that you have done and the reports that I expect will have been presented to the different governments, including ours here in Grenada, that we would begin to see some educational programs sensitizing people and raising awareness and educating people about the whole issue of human trafficking and its impact and who's involved and everything to do with it, so that people will know how to mitigate against becoming victims of human trafficking and so on. So at this point in time, we bring, it's coming up on 10:40 my time.
Yeah.
We bring the program for this evening to a close, with final words from our eminent Brother John Caliste, and I want to say thank you to you, Dr. Justine, for Brother John, for him arranging that session with you and, affording me the opportunity to be able to, to host a program of that nature with you. And thank you to Ms. Headley for once again being here on the Talking Point program, speaking on that issue. Good evening and all the best to you. And also to our viewers and listeners, I expect, based on some of the comments in the short box, I realize that some of you have come away from here very edified. And remember, this is going to be online and it will be shared extensively as possible. So you too share it and let's help to raise the awareness. Yeah. Brother John?
Yes. All right. Good night again to each and every one of you here. I really appreciate Ms. Headley and Dr. Justine coming here tonight. And I can't say enough thanks to you, Pablo and Delbert, for helping me to facilitate this session. Most definitely, I have been enlightened. And our motto is education is liberation. And I think most people tonight have been liberated and educated on the subject of human trafficking and prostitution. And I hope that Ms. Headley and Dr. Pierre will link up and probably have their own session on the midday show every Monday from 12 o'clock. You're going to probably continue this session there and create more awareness on Mondays. So you could probably join together and have a session on Mondays and doing their show and make the awareness happen. Let's start pushing it more often and let the people know about it so they'll be more vigilant and to pay attention to the communities around them and see what happens and how they could help before people from getting involved in that activity. Because I have two daughters of my own and I'm start thinking right now, being very, very vigilant. You say something? Go ahead.
Yes. I just want to say that this whole idea, when we published the report, this whole idea brought a lot of focus on the Caribbean, because over the last couple of months I've had interviewed with CNN, I've been interviewed with the Associated Press, and many of the international newspapers who never knew that the incidents of human trafficking was so prevalent in the Caribbean region.
Right.
And
right.
when persons heard about the article,
Right.
and they tell you, why would the Caribbean have one of the largest brothels in the world? People are thinking, that's not true. So when they realize, think
Yeah.
that's true.
There's some of the things that Miss Headley speak of. I mean, she been doubted, that that's happening because she just on a one-man mission there, and people saying, you haven't heard about it. And not because you haven't heard about it, it's not happening, it's happening. So it's, I'm very particular. I remember talking to my daughter about having to meet with pastors and teachers, by herself. If they can't accommodate me or her mom or there's any person that we want to, there's no meeting. It's not going to happen, So, because these are the influential people. So we have to be very, very careful who we allow to influence our children after the classroom session is finished, the churches.